You weren't sad. If you were sad, that would actually be an improvement. Sadness is a feeling. What you feel is static. You wake up, you do your job, you scroll, check your bank account. Number's fine. But you don't really feel anything. Most people think that these feelings are just part of getting older or burning out, but it's something deeper than that, and that's called ahedonic dissociation. In the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to show you exactly what circuit in your brain has blown a fuse and how to reset it, how to kind of come back alive. Because so many of us are just walking zombies. And I'm saying this from my own personal experience. Before I got into therapy and coaching and self improvement, I was I was dead. I was just struggling. I didn't really know who I was, what I cared about. I was doing all the things, right? I was going to the gym, I was dating, I was having sex, I was, building a business, but I just felt completely empty. So if you're connecting with this, you probably have one of two rationalizations. The first one is if you're more of, a glass half full positive person, you might be saying like, "Oh, this will pass." Right? This is just something that is a phase, everyone goes through it. If I just keep grinding, if I just keep doing what I need to do, at some point I'm going to feel alive again. That's wrong. You know, and it's a common fallacy that the brain has because when the brain is under stress, when the brain is freaking out and doesn't quite know what to do, it just does the same thing it's done before, but harder. That's what we do. We just slam on the gas and we just do the same thing, but harder. What I'm going to advocate during this video is to do something different, right? And the brain is really afraid of that. The brain hates change. The brain hates the unknown. The brain hates taking risks. We are designed and evolved to be extremely risk avoidant, to only seek out risk when it's absolutely necessary for our survival, which will be another episode that has made the modern man very weak because our world is not as risky as it needs to be. So we have to seek risk into our lives. But that's a side tangent. The other thing that you might say if you're a more glass half empty person is, I'm just lazy. I'm just a lazy person. I don't push myself. I'm never going to be motivated. I'm never going to make anything of myself. And that's shame talking. If you came into one of our coaching sessions, you would realize that that's probably a parent's voice. That's maybe something that kind of surfaced in grade school. That's an old voice that basically hates you and is telling you to stay small. It's also very similar to what we talked about with the brain of that's a very risk avoidant part of you. But you can overcome that. But none of these examples are true. Right? That's just a rationalization for what I'm telling you. It's like it's not a mindset problem, it's a neurological problem. So let me tell you something crazy. What is kind of hacking in your brain, what's not working is your opioid system. Now you're gonna listen to this and you're gonna be like, opioids? Isn't that like heroin or oxycodone? And the answer is yeah, right? I mean, those are opiates. Those interact with the same system. But opioids are natural, right? They are produced naturally in the brain. What actually makes those drugs so addictive is that they lock into a system that's already there. And in the long run, they basically, because you're externally providing them through a drug, your body starts to downregulate them yourself. So you don't produce them naturally, right? Same as if you did, TRT, right? Testosterone replacement therapy, or, some psychoactive medications and did, serotonin and things like that. You tend to downregulate them because your body is like, well, I don't need this anymore. I'm getting it, through a pill. So I don't need it. I don't need to make it. I can save energy. But what opioids do is they help you feel satisfied. And that's really different from serotonin, right? I think a lot of therapists are going to talk about serotonin. We're going to talk about dopamine, right? And those things, they make you feel accomplished. They make you feel like you're like, yes, nailed it, right? It's that kind of feeling of accomplishment, of joy, of like a quick hit. Think again of something like porn, right? Or sugar, something like that. That's like the dopamine system. The opioid system is more about this deep satisfaction, the sense of relaxation, of contentment, the feeling of having enough, the feeling of being safe, and the feeling of being satisfied. So, what happens here is if you aren't doing things that are satisfying to you, or right? So if you're under aroused, you're not doing things that are satisfying, your brain is just going to kind of give up. Or if you're only focused on relaxation and comfort, you're just going to flatline. You're not going to have those ups and downs. You're not going to be seeking satisfaction because that's part of what it means to be human. So if you're not seeking it, either you have given up on it, which feels flat, or you're always in it, which feels flat. It's all about kind of being in that middle zone, in that window of tolerance. And what that feels like for most guys, I think some guys would call that depression. Some therapists would call that depression. That's not exactly it. I mean, because a lot of these guys are not sad. You're not grieving, you're not upset, you're not in a shame place. It's actually anhedonia, which translates basically to the lack of ability to feel pleasure. It's very similar to what a lot of men also experience, which is alexithymia, which means the inability to feel feelings. Those things are similar, right? Because pleasure and emotions often interchange, but they are different from the way psychology talks about it. But essentially, it's this lack of ability to feel, understand, and name what is going on inside of you. And I'll tell you right now, there's no amount of like motivation or hype that can get you feeling that. And some guys might be tricked into that. You might be scrolling on a video and see something that really gets you fired up, or you might, take a bunch of caffeine or pre workout or something like that and feel these moments of aliveness or alcohol, right? You're out and you're partying and you just feel like so alive for a moment. And then it really crashes, right? It really just falls apart because you're trying to fix that opioid problem that I was talking about with dopamine, and you need to work on a deeper level. So let's talk a little bit more deeply about the dopamine system versus the opioid system. So basically, the dopamine system is the seeking system, right? Like I was saying before, it's a system that wants to feel accomplishments, that wants to level up, that wants to find the things in nature, whether that's food or a sexual mate or safety or fresh water or a vista on top of a mountain that really makes us feel like we've accomplished something, that we've nailed it, right? So it's about seeking. Opioid system is about liking and enjoying and experiencing that pleasure, feeling satisfied. So the way that I like to think about it is, imagine that you are a hunter, right? You're primal man. Dopamine is going to get you to go get the deer, to go through the woods, to hunt it, to try to track that thing down. And when you see it, you get that like, whoa feeling, right? That's dopamine. But then once you hunt it, kill it, process it and eat it and enjoy it, that's the opioid reaction. And they're two very different things. What is messed up about our culture and about what marketing and social media and all the stuff that people talk ad nauseum about, but there is truth to it. What it's done, what it's really capitalized on, is that dopamine system because that's what sells things, right? So if a company can sell you this idea of getting the deer, it doesn't care if you enjoy it. It doesn't care if you like it, right? It just wants you to seek something out and acquire it, to feel accomplished that you bought a product or you made a change or you subscribed to whatever, right? It doesn't care. Like once you've done that, you're done in the capitalist system, right? Like there's no longer any use for you because you have already made the purchase. So you end up being constantly flooded with things that hijack our dopamine system, that overtune it. And we have other videos and podcasts about that. We'll link some of those in the description as well. But you don't really have any practice with the actual liking and the actual satisfaction feeling of the opioid system because by the time you've acquired something, you're getting fed the next thing to acquire. And I'm sure we can all relate to this. I can relate to this, right? It's like, how many times have you accomplished something, whether it be at work or buying a product or connecting with a partner or whatever, and your mind is already on to the next one? Because we've been trained. We've been trained to be constantly seeking and never enjoying, never actually liking anything. So the way to fix this lack of opioid functioning, right? This lack of enjoying life or feeling flat is by going inwards. Some of you who've been following the podcast for a while, I mention every once in a while. I study Buddhism, intensely for 5 years. I went to a Buddhist university, and before that, I was working in a monastery. I did a bunch of retreats and a bunch of things, and I continue to practice Zen to this day. And to me, that is what I needed to do to start to get my opioid system, my enjoyment system back online. Is I had to, one, starve it, and we'll talk about that in a moment, and two, go in. So let's start with going in. The idea, this is kind of can be called mindfulness, which I'm sure you've heard of by now, somatic reentry, or in man speak, feeling shit. So that's what you have to do, right? Is like sit down, shut up, and start to feel your body. Because so many men are disconnected, right? We live in our minds. And for men that are too much in their minds, they're anxious, right? Or they're depressed, right? They're all brain, they're all thought, we're all willpower, which is good, right? I mean, I love that as a man, I can turn on discipline and willpower and I can force myself through things. That is what makes us powerful. But the issue that a lot of men have is that we can't turn it off. So we're always in this willpower, forcing, grinding mode, and we're not able to actually feel anything because, and here's the honest truth: if you look deep down, you're afraid. You're afraid of if you stop, everything's going to fall apart. You're afraid if you fall, no one's going to catch you, and you're afraid that if you just take a day off, everything's going to unravel. I get that. I too have felt that. So it takes disconnecting first to be able to retrain the system. What does that look like? You know, Something that I did initially is just try to spend a day with as little stimulation as possible. And you don't have to like be a monk. You have to like sit in your closet in the dark like a weirdo. Just like go on a hike, you know? I mean, I live in Colorado, so we have a lot of access to nature. Where I started practicing this was actually backpacking. I love backpacking, where basically it's just you, your bag, so whatever food you can carry, and you're just doing simple stuff, right? You're walking, you're sleeping, you're using the restroom, you're eating. It's like extremely, extremely simplistic. And go alone, right? Go alone and just notice where your mind goes. You just do one night overnight. You don't think too crazy, right? Go out, camp, come back. I find that that's a lot easier if you have access to nature for people than, locking yourself in a room. If you're urban, maybe get a hotel room and try to just stay in the room for a day. Although it's harder, right? Because there's a TV there, there's your phone, there's Wi-Fi. So I find that nature really is the best way to do this. If you have the means, rent a cabin somewhere remote, that's great. Or get an Airbnb. But the idea here is really just starving yourself of input and noticing what comes up. Now, here is the hard truth. Here is what is going to make this difficult is that for most guys, almost all guys, when they first do this, the first thing that comes up is pain. Truly. It's fear. It's fear of, wasting your time. It's fear of messing up. It's fear about what you have to do when you get back from your backpacking trip. It's insecurity. It's memories from that shitty thing you said in college to that girl that one time. It's regrets. It's, running through the list about your finances. It's a lot of pain, but that's good information. And it's a way to make you stronger because what I'm going to encourage you to do is just sit with that. Just listen to it, let it run. Don't take it seriously. Don't take any action and just notice what is going on in the back of your brain. How I mentioned that you were afraid before? If you're in this grind mode, this is what is motivating you. This is the gasoline that's going into the tank. It's just a constant, constant list of fear. But I will promise you, and there's a reason why this we're talking about mindfulness, Buddhism, meditation, silence, whatever, is a spiritual pursuit because you need faith. And I want to just tell you that I want to hopefully instill some faith in you that if you can get through the fear, and it might take many times, it might take years. It took me a good few years to even start to see what was beyond the fear, but there is something beyond it. And what is beyond it is relaxation, contentment, and enoughness. What is beyond it is a deep sense of coming home, of feeling comfortable in your own skin, feeling like you matter, feeling like you've taken your seat at the table on planet Earth. Now, that sounds pretty wild, but that is true. I have found that, I have felt that, and that's something that, with a lot of meditation practice, I can come back to. And it's a critical, critical feeling. And it's a very biological feeling. It's not I mean, spiritual because it's hard, right? And takes faith, but it's not like magical, right? It's just a feeling of safety. It's a feeling of arriving. It's a feeling of being present on the earth. So once you get there, right? Once you get to this feeling of presence and you can kind of turn down the storm a little bit, right? You've gone through this fast, input fast, dopamine fast, then you can start to feel things. You can start to kind of turn your inner eye into your body and feel around in your chest, feel around in your gut, feel around in your neck. And for most guys, again, the loudest thing is pain. So, what a lot of people are going to feel, what most people are going to feel, right, when they first start is tension, is soreness, is that old injury that you never quite rehabbed properly. You didn't really do your PT exercises, right? You're gonna feel places where you feel heavy, where you feel dead. Maybe you have a little bit too much fat in that area. Maybe it's an area that you've neglected. You have a sedentary lifestyle, which I do as a therapist, something I have to fight every day. So maybe my hips will often feel pretty sore. My upper shoulders will feel pretty sore. Again, it's pain. Pain's the loudest thing. But if you can go through that, just like with the mind, if you can go through that, what's on the other side is life. It's real emotions. You'll start to actually feel emotions again. You'll feel joy. You'll feel contentment. You'll feel maybe anger, maybe grief, maybe sadness, things that you locked away for a long time. And the idea, the instruction here is just let it run. Let it run through you. Let yourself, let your body process all of those feelings. There's nothing magical here. There's nothing woo-woo here. This is all neuroscience. But if you can start to kind of like ungunk up the system, declog the system, what you'll notice is that when you're back in your real life, when you're out of this, imaginary backpacking trip that we're talking about, you're going to feel more alive. You're going to feel able to be touched by reality, to have stuff really impact you again, to feel a sense of awe and a sense of joy and a sense of majesty and all these things that you probably remember feeling as a kid when everything was incredible and magical. Um, that comes back. That didn't go anywhere. It just got covered with gunk, with shit, with tension, with pain patterns, with anxiety. It got covered up by all the stuff that I think as men, in order to grow up, we take on. We take on all this poison because we have to, right? We have to. But we don't have to keep holding on to it. That's the main thing. So to kind of recap, the idea here is you have to purge, detox your mind, detox your body, stop all the input, stay in the fire as these things are coming up. And over time, you'll start to come back alive. And this is a neuroscience, this is a biological process of allowing your brain and your neurochemistry to regulate. So you can move away from being constantly addicted to dopamine and move into really sinking into a feeling of enoughness to reactivate that opioid system that's dead in a lot of us and to tune down that dopamine system that has been manipulated and exploited. You owe this to yourself. This is about being human. And if you need help, because we all need help, we have a free Slack community on menstherapy.online, 100% free. I'm on there. You can message me 24/7. You can talk to me whenever you want, and I will respond to every single person that talks on there. We've about 300 people, guys, on there right now that are interested in getting better, that are interested in these topics, that want to grow. They want to become better husbands, better fathers, better men. They want to have a positive impact on the world. And they just need a brotherhood, a tribe, a community to clear out this gunk so they can become the best men that they can be. That's what we're offering. We're offering connection and we're offering a community of men that get it and that are willing to talk about the real shit. So check it out. That's on menstherapy.online. You'll see a link for the Slack community. Again, 100% free, no strings attached. There's a pop up that also come up. You can sign up through that. But check it out. Right? Again, it's a way to get in contact with me. You'll see all the notes and everything we talked about, including that graph, including some resources that'll all be in the description of the video. Hope you got a lot of benefit out of this. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.